I hope you'll join me in studying out some thoughts about the shepherd. Let's look at David. David was a shepherd who became a king. He had to learn how to be a shepherd before he could shepherd the people of Israel. Let's look at what he had to do. He had to account for every sheep so that not one was lost. He had to protect the sheep many times at the risk of his own life. He had to walk in lonely places. He had to lead the way. He had to make provision. He had to care for the sick lambs. His time as a shepherd prepared him to be king, and a good king he was, a shepherd boy from the tribe of Judah, whom God handpicked to be king. Interesting how every step of his life fell together. Judah means praise. David was a psalmist. He praised God through song, which is another thing in his life that opened a door to the palace for him. Nothing was wasted that he went through. That is something important to notice. As a psalmist and a shepherd, he penned the wonderful Psalm 23 that opens with, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Let's talk about that. The Lord is our shepherd and our king. He did all the same things that shepherds do. He accounted for every sheep so that not one was lost. He told the Father that he did not lose any that were given to him. John 6, verse 38 and 39. "For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of the Father who sent me, that of all he has given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up at the last day." He laid down his life for all. John 10:11. "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep." He walked in lonely places. Luke 5:16. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. He led the way. He is the way. John 14:6. Jesus said to him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." He made provision. John 6:35. And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst." He cared for the sick. Matthew 9:35. Then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. Also interesting that he made reference to sheep when he talked to Peter. And this was after he had risen from the dead. And I don't have, and I apologize that I don't have the exact scripture reference for this, but it's easy to find. So when they had eaten breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." He said to him again a second time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Tend to my sheep." He said to him the third time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And he said to him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said to him, feed my sheep. I think it's very interesting that the role of the shepherd prepared for the role of king in David's life. And from his lineage, Jesus was in his lineage in his earthly body from the tribe of Judah, which means praise. And he is the good shepherd. And then he passes the torch, so to speak, to his disciples, specifically to Peter, after he's risen from the dead. And he says, feed my sheep. So I also would like to recommend this book to you. It is called A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23 by W. Philip Keller. And it is an older book. It's a very, very good book. It's a good read from start to finish. It's an easy read, and it is just full of wonderful, wonderful information about the life of a shepherd and how it compares to Psalm 23. I think you'll love it. I'm going to read a little excerpt to you. Interestingly, this excerpt starts on page 23. How amazing it is that individual men and women vehemently refuse and reject the claims of Christ on their lives. They fear that to acknowledge his ownership is to come under the rule of a tyrant. This is difficult to comprehend when one pauses to consider the character of Christ. Admittedly, there have been many false caricatures of this person, but an unbiased look at his life quickly reveals an individual of enormous compassion and incredible integrity. He was the most balanced and perhaps the most beloved being ever to enter the society of men. Though born amid most disgusting surroundings, the member of a modest working family, he bore himself always with great dignity and assurance. Though he enjoyed no special advantages as a child, either in education or employment, his entire philosophy and outlook on life were the highest standards of human conduct ever set before mankind. Though he had no vast economic assets, political power, or military might, no other person ever made such an enormous impact on the world's history. Because of him, millions of people across almost 20 centuries of time have come into a life of decency and honor and noble conduct. Not only was he gentle and tender and true, but also righteous, stern as steel, and terribly tough on phony people. And this book actually it walks you through the roles of what a shepherd does in his daily life, and it sheds light on the meaning of some of the scripture, some of the portions of Psalm 23 that helps you understand. For example, when he anoints his head with oil, it explains to you the reasoning for the things that they do with the sheep and gives you a better understanding of what their life is like, and gives you more information actually about sheep. So it's a wonderful book. I highly recommend, and I thank you for watching. I hope you have a blessed day. It's all about Jesus.